You know, accidents happen. Drive carefully. Even if you do get into an accident, it will be less serious. Don't try and kill yourself doing it. Okay, I could turn in there, but as I've done before, I think running down here, it just happens to be the easiest way in and out of this field from the road. I don't have to drive around the yard. Car coming, big tractors still behind me, doing fine. I'll just head across here. And he made it too, so yay him. Okay, stop that there. Wrong way. You can turn off. Okay, let's back you up a little, and to be perfectly honest, that end bit there looks about fine. Let's just fold this up, stick it off to the side. How are you doing for diesel? You are also in somewhat of a need, so I'm guessing it's no big a deal for these two tractors to end up calling at the gas station on the way back to the yard. They don't have to. I've got diesel tanks at the yard that are full, or at least full enough, and baler's full enough. But yeah, I've never used snow tires, but it was only fairly recently I became aware of them and thought that would probably be a good thing to use if they weren't so what's the word for it? If they weren't such a hassle to switch over and switch back again. The problem with Michigan is we'll get a snowstorm and then everything's fine. And then we'll get another snowstorm and then everything's fine. And we have, months of no snow. And then snow for a week and then months of no snow. It's just easier to just stay indoors when it snows. Obviously, if you live in places like Montana or Colorado, up in the mountains, or places like that, snow tires are probably a good idea because once it's snowed, that snow is on the ground for the entirety of winter. And we just don't have that here in Michigan. So driving carefully on standard tires is probably a better, or it's a more convenient option than I mean, if I did snow ploughing and had an old snow plough truck, then yes, putting snow tires on an old truck is a good idea because you kind of want the traction when you're clearing snow, and you're not going to drive it anywhere when you're not clearing snow. I don't have that option. I don't have storage for multiple vehicles. 2 is enough. At least for now. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ding. Nice. Oh, and I drove forward before the door closed. No problem there. So I'm going alternate rows here because it is easier to keep the baler on track rather than trying to do a tight turn and missing bits at each end. I did notice that that bottom end that we're heading towards is not well rowed. But I think it's only part of a corner, so doing what we did on the last field, just riding over the unrowed grass, is not going to take us too much time to do that. Then we have to get these contracts done. So 10 o'clock game time. Again, don't think there's anything going on the game right now that we have to concern ourselves with. Yeah, this entire bottom area is not ideally done. Oh, and almost done. Oh, and it looks like actually we might need to get the windrower out. This is looking very bad over on that right hand edge there. Looks like the windrower has missed an entire row. Because why not? Now, if I do 9-10 bales on this, that's a full trailer load. Oh, again, not paying attention. I have noticed that the advent of new Railroads Online videos has dropped off lately. I'm guessing, I know the people I watch tend to have issues with bugs in game, so I'm guessing the bug frustration got to the point where they're not producing any new videos. I have been watching Jingle's, what has he been doing? Aliens, Dark Descent or something like that, which is kind of an XCOM-esque sort of squad game versus aliens. Another game that, you know, theoretically I would consider playing, because it's not a game you have to sit down and do all the things at the same time and remember where you were. It's a fairly linear campaign. You have missions to complete, so you know, every time you log in, okay, here's the list of things you have to do. And so just get on and do the things, play for as long as you want to, and if you don't complete everything, it doesn't really matter, because you can come back later and complete it. That's kind of like the game I mentioned earlier, Fantasy General 2. You have a map to play, you play the map. There are tasks on each map. Get the tasks done and just move on. It's, you know, so long as you've got enough time to play the map, That's fine. Up. And so it's a game that you don't have to... It's not a game you have to plan. And that's the thing I have problems with. It's like... Yeah, playing something like Stellaris or games like that where you're exploring and there's no set goal, there's just keep the progression going. Where am I mapping? Where am I exploring? Who am I at war with? What am I planning to do for the war that looks like it's about to happen? Those things you kind of need to keep a mind to it. It's what, you know, it's a thing with, I find with Farming Simulator even, is when I play too many game saves, I forget what I was doing on each. This is easy for me because I'm only playing one farm. So all I have to do is remember what I did last week and keep going with that. It's not like, oh, I need to feed the cows. Oh no, this game save I don't have cows. What do I? Oh, I have sheep. I need to, and it's just... actually, that's the tractor I want to be in. So it's sort of it's a lot easier. Let's try turning that on and lowering that. It's a lot easier to play one farm sim game at a time or whatever. But when you're playing a game that kind of like Civilization, stuff like that, they can take a long time to play, and so you need to keep track of where you are. And if you can only play once a month, then I'll start again. But if I can find games that are short, have scenarios that you play the scenario, and once you've done the scenario, it's done, and you move on to the next scenario. That's the sort of games I play at the moment. Now, maybe once I've retired and I can play, 3 or 4 hours a few days a week, I would play something that's a little bit more complicated that I can sit down and plan and do things. Beeping. Slow down. Alrighty. Again. Just separate the rows so that we can keep everything flowing comfortably. Honestly, not sure. I guess we can check the bale count at the end of this and see how many bales we've ended up with. Oh, and missed the beeps. Back it up. Yes, at the moment, not a lot of exciting things happening. As I said, I think Teenage Osa's off on camp in about 3 weeks. But that's weekdays, not weekends, so she'll be here the surrounding weekends. But it'll give Mrs. Osa and me a little time to ourselves. Maybe do some things. Oh, that's awkward. Now, next weekend there's no church cleaning, so probably end the stream closer to midday, because that's usually the sort of time people are looking at, okay, let's make food and make a lot of noise in the background. and that makes me hungry, and then I just, yeah, I need to go and feed myself. But right now, nobody's making the food making noises, so I'm not too concerned with eating stuff right away. I will be soon. But I think I'd like to get this baling done. And maybe collect one field's worth or one trailer's worth, and then we'll move on to something else, or then I'll get food. How about that? I'm missing. Oh, the rows at the top there are a little bit too close to the hedgerow, so, or fence, or wall, or whatever it is. Hedge. So I'm not able to collect as close as I would like to. Down this end it's just a row of trees, so the windrow was quite lenient or accommodating. Accommodating is a good word. Oh, and I'm not paying attention again, so let's just do it this way. Okay. Got it. Okay. No, I didn't. Still didn't get it. Well, at least with the bumper weight on the front, I don't run over the bale. However, there's a there and there. And there. Okay, that's better. I might run across to the far edge. We'll do that far row. Actually, that far row isn't a full row. 7, 8, 9, and come on, done. Thank you. And not at the end of a row, so that hopefully won't be a problem. Yeah, this one we picked up this row halfway, so here, and then I think I'll try and get the bits of grass close to the hedge at the end, and we'll finish off the main rows and park this behind the vent, I guess. Not triggering any wet grass bales, so that's good. lots and lots of sweeping turns, and got some. Looks like we got most of that, so now we're back to the ups and downs. Missed a bit, doesn't matter. Well, we are so close to a full bale though. Yeah, put the bale out the back. Oh, I missed that turn completely. Let's try and correct that, shall we? Beep, 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 and go. Stuck behind a tree. And the weather outside doesn't look the greatest, but it's still not raining. And it's been looking like that for the last couple of days. Thursday it was supposed to be scattered thunderstorms. We got nothing. But it was ominous looking clouds and just dark overcast. And that was it. No rain, no nothing. I wish it would rain because it would do our vegetable garden a lot of good. We got 4 tomato plants. Not Mrs. Ose wanted 4, but she said she would have got less, but they came in a pack of 4, so we have 4 tomato plants, but we've only got like 4 tomatoes on 2 of them, or be split between 2 of them. 2 of them aren't growing anything. Our cauliflowers aren't doing anything except just growing bigger, which apparently cauliflowers are aren't an easy crop to grow, so we may not end up with any cauliflowers, but they're not dead. Our green peppers, we've got a second green pepper popped, and I think we have 4 of those as well, but they're coming along okay. We've got a few hot pepper bushes. One is covered in flowers, good. The other 2 don't seem to be the greatest. The onions are growing, but obviously onions are root crops, so we can't actually tell how good they're looking. And the melons are spreading out. Watermelons are spreading out, but not sure what they're up to either. And then the herbs are being herbs. Oh, and we got lettuce as well. We've got 2 lettuce plants. They're not growing heads, they're just growing into lettuce trees, which is okay, a thing, I guess. So I've had a salad off one, and don't even notice it. And every time I have a hamburger or a chicken burger or just a sandwich, chicken sandwich, beef sandwich, whatever, I'll grab a slice of lettuce to put in it. And so our lettuce plants are basically they're very handy. I like having lettuce in a sandwich or on a burger or whatever, but I don't like buying lettuce because I don't use enough of it. I buy a pack of lettuce and throw half of it away because it's gone bad. So it's for me it's one of those dilemmas. Do I want to buy lettuce and throw half of it away, or do I just want to not bother? And similar with tomatoes. I like a tomato on my sandwich, I like a tomato on my burger, but frankly I don't eat enough tomatoes to warrant having some in the house just in case I want to have one on a sandwich. because chances are I'll throw most of them away. Back when I lived on my own before I got married, I didn't bother with potatoes. I liked potatoes, I would have potatoes with stuff, I knew how to cook potatoes, but quite frankly, I never ate them frequently enough to buy a bag of potatoes. So I'd buy rice because it was just more financially astute. I would eat all of the rice eventually. So so having a couple of lettuce plants growing in the backyard is good for me because I can nip out there, grab a leaf of lettuce and have it on a sandwich or a burger or whatever, and I don't have to throw anything away. I just have to eat some every so often. There may be we get to the end of the year and well, we have insufficient grass to make a bale. By 700 litres, I don't think there is 700 litres worth of grass on this field, so we'll call that done. I don't think we've missed much. I was fairly fastidious in my collection of hay today. So we'll park this here. And go fetch 10 bales. Take them to the place. Not actually sure which place I'm taking them to yet. Probably the bale sell point because it kind of makes sense. Yes. Oh, and I didn't look at the count. Let's look at the count. How did we do? 82. And contracts are deliver to the bale market, bale market, bale market. Good, everybody's going to the same place, and if you watching on YouTube and pause it, you'll know how many bales I'm going to have left over at the end of this to be cow food. 25, 26, 27, and 28. We're done. Let's, hit buttons, end up indoors, and stick it in transporting position, and throw that away. Okay, bale sell point. It's a fair drive, so we will stay in the cab for this. Yeah, the thing is with the tomatoes, as they grow and ripen, I can use them in sandwiches. And then if we have any tomatoes left over at the end of the year, we